dude. So it's going to force me to go into vertical mode. Like, I swear that is such stupid. So I set up the stream to go in horizontal mode, and it's forcing me to go vertical. Like, nice. And it's locked, too, so I can't go back and change it. Anyway, what's up, everybody? John the Morgile coming to you live from Honeypath, South Carolina. Today is January 4th. What is today, y'all? Is it January 4th? Yeah, January 4th, 2025, not 2024 anymore. And I hope y'all are having a blessed day. 100% likes. Yeah. What's up, y'all? Today we're going to do a real earth affirmation. Give us a big old thumbs up in the live stream there. If you can see and hear me, let me know you can see and hear me. I would appreciate it. And we'll get into it pretty quickly. This is going to be one of the periodical things. I'm not going to call it a daily real earth affirmation, but we're going with periodical, right? But before we jump into it, I just wanted to mention, I don't know if you guys caught the news. Yes, I guess it was yesterday. But this was something that happened local to me that made national news yesterday, I think. So on Highway 85, which is a highway, like I can basically throw a rock at it from my house. It's like, so 85 is like the main highway, one of the main highways through town, and it like connects Spartanburg and Greenville. Well, so there was a guy, a Jordanian national guy, who's from Ohio or something. So he had been living in America legally, driving down the highway in a semi truck apparently with no license plate on it, right? And let me see them thumbs, you guys. There's 7 of y'all live and still only 1 thumb. So what's up with that, yo? Now, give me a thumb if you can see and hear me. I'd appreciate it. So anyway, this dude, this Jordanian guy, he gets pulled over on the highway because I'll tell you, the Greenville County, Spartanburg County law dogs on the I-85 corridor and the 385 corridor are just like notorious for pulling over semi trucks. Honestly, like I've seen more semi trucks pulled over by the law dogs on 385 and 85 in like the last, say, 6 months than I've ever seen on any other highways combined in my entire life. Like I guess it's just a thing that they do regularly here in, I don't know if it's a county or a state thing or what, but I do know that if you drive a semi truck, like, and you're riding dirty or whatever, you probably want to go around Malden, Greenville, Spartanburg, and just go way the hell around it. Like, you guys remember Lord of the Rings 3, like where they go miles and miles around the bog of eternal stench or whatever it is. Yeah, so that one. Anyways, another thing too, and where's all so there's 11 of y'all there, and between the 11 of you guys there's 1 thumb. 1. Okay, so before we get into the meat of this thing, I just wanted to throw something out there, and just get this on the record officially. And this is coming from a place of love and respect for Jarenism. I've been friends with Jaren much longer than I've been sort of questioning his motives entirely. And, as I've said before, I do tend to give my friends the benefit of the doubt. And if it doesn't seem like it with Jaren, I get it. I have been sort of reacting emotionally to the way that things unfolded in Antarctica with that whole charade. And, at the end of the day, whatever comes of that, I do know that Jaren knows the truth about the world. So, like, he's not a fool. I believe he gets it. I believe that also, read into this whatever you will, but I believe that he doesn't have a lot of choice in certain things, right? And I'll leave it there. But if hypothetically this motherfucker is playing 3-dimensional chess, right? And this whole charade in Antarctica was basically like a Trojan horse for flat Earth, because ultimately that is what ended up happening, right? Whether it was intentional or not, right? So like if you missed the Streisand effect stream I did a few days ago, maybe a week ago at this point, well, way last year, yeah, I'll not do that joke ever again. But yeah, if you remember the Streisand effect video, it does appear that if nothing else, there is definitely a new sort of renewed interest in the mainstream in the topic in general. Now, I do think that the final experiment thing was a flop as far as the high ups who orchestrated the thing goes, in my opinion. But in terms of like, I don't know, maybe just Jaren specifically, I'm not going to lump in Witsit with him because I don't know Witsit that well. And I will say that I have been harboring illegitimate angst against Witsit just because during Bob's memorial stream, I thought it was him that said something very rude, and it wasn't him. Okay, so like this whole time, I was sort of harboring animosity against Witsit. Okay, so doesn't exist. But what my point is, I just don't know him well enough to even hypothesize. Well, maybe Witsit is playing this sort of three-dimensional chess. I don't know. I really just don't know the dude. But I do know, I know Jaren at least to a degree. At least over the phone or whatever, like virtually. I have met him once, and I got to tell you, Jaren's one of those people where, like, we tend to, especially in the digital age, when you don't you have a lot of relationships with people that you've never met, right, in person, but we tend to like construct pictures, or at least I do. I'll speak for myself. I'm not going to lump y'all in with me, but I tend to construct pictures in my mind of people, right, like based on conversations and their personality or whatever. And Jaren, like, so the first introduction I had with Jaren was his videos, and I was sitting there thinking he's like a skinny little pipsqueak or something, right? But then when finally he started putting his face to his videos or whatever, that was kind of a surprise. But like meeting him in person, you would never think, based on his voice, I would never think that he was like a 6'2" dude, you know what I mean? Like never in a million years. So I don't know what that is, but what my point is that I'm just sort of hoping that maybe, giving him the benefit of the doubt that this was intentional, right? And either way, like the Most High is going to, do his thing with or without us, I think. But I do think that, God, the Creator, the Most High, operates in the physical realm through his people, right? So the Bene Elohim, the sons and daughters of God, right? So like, in other words, in my opinion, God doesn't have like arms and legs and toes or whatever, right? So he can't like come down to the physical plane and like start operating, like running things, right? But he does actually operate through his people, and God will operate through his people whether they're intending to do so or not, right? So God's pretty amazing in that way. Yeah, I1T. No, when I said that, I just was just making some shit up when I said that. I don't know. But like, wouldn't it, like, what I'm saying is I hope it was a lot if he did get paid off, and like, wouldn't it be funny if Witsit got double? And surely, the guy that was running the whole thing probably, I don't know, like, where did these people get their money? I don't know. Because if you're into the whole creature from Jekyll Island thing, right? Anyway, so there are 13 of y'all live. We're pretty steady. Wait a minute. What am I doing here? Okay. James D. Drake says, how do you let so many proof for FE go so quick? What do you mean? So many proof for FE go so quick. I'm not sure. Okay, so anyway, so now that we've warmed this thing up a little bit, we're almost 10 minutes into it and haven't even mentioned the meat of this. So let's get into the meat of this thing. And I'm sorry, James, I just don't understand the question. James, before that, you said, think if the right amount of money is offered, most will sell out. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, so like what I'm picturing, so sorry, let's just go back to this thing we were talking about before. So like I'm picturing in my head, this is total speculation, really, absolute speculation. Okay, I am making this shit up, but I can sort of picture something like this occurring. Okay, So in my imagination, you've got like Will Duffy and Witsit trying to convince Jaren that this Antarctica thing is going to be like a killer for flat Earth, right? It's going to be great for the globe. Like honestly, I would see Jaren telling them, dude, y'all are fools. Like this is not going to work. It's going to blow up in your face. They're going to ask y'all questions like pick up snow. It's, you know, we're not going to be able to fake this. And lo and behold, like this is what ends up happening of it. And so Jaren, like in my imagination, is sitting there going, I told you so. Now, in this sort of imaginary skit that I'm making up on the top of my head, Jaren got paid out a lot of money, right? Allegedly, hypothetically, in my imagination here, right? So if Jaren got 5 million, wouldn't it be funny if Witsit got 10 million, right? But I don't think none of that actually happened. Like, you know, I just don't see like so like if Jaren did get paid off and he actually did this on purpose, that motherfucker's my hero, dude. You know what I mean? Like if that's what happened, then he's my hero. Okay. And I just don't know. I don't think he would ever be in a position to where he could ever admit that it was that because he's going to have to, and I hope I'm not getting dude in trouble too, but like he would have to play the role with his superiors that like he did the, you know, did everything in his power. And, you know, Witsit kind of fucked it up for everyone anyway, right? Because in my opinion, and again, this is just speculation and I'm making this up off the top of my head, allegedly for entertainment purposes only, you'll never convince me that Witsit was not on ecstasy in Antarctica there, okay? Never in a million years, okay? And I'm kind of an expert, okay? So anyway, so back to this thing. So this thing that we're going to discuss about the lunar phases being a problem for the ball Earth, this is something that I actually came up with. As far as I know, nobody had ever discussed this, mentioned this. But the only reason that I ever even arrived at this sort of major problem for the ball was because of directly resulting from Jaren's work. Okay, so just to give you a little background. Okay, so we are way off in La La Land here. So we are going to be humoring the heliocentric model. Okay, we're just going to be considering the heliocentric model, which is, you know, the standard belief system for all of science, right? So you've got spinning ball Earth going around the sun, going around the galactic center, and all that. Okay, and within infinite space and gravity and everything. So we're giving them all that. We're giving them the Big Bang, everything. Okay, and if you humor this system, you've got a situation to where since the Earth goes around the sun once a year, right, and spins on its axis once a day, you have a situation where, in the wintertime, visible space is going to be on opposite ends of the universe as visible space, 6 months later in the summertime. Okay. So and I really wish that YouTube would have let me orient my screen horizontal. This is going to be so hard to do where it's like this. And I'm sorry, y'all. I did try to do it the other way. So like humoring okay, babe, can you turn that down a hair, please? Just the hair. I know those well, just when that stupid song's playing, it's really loud. You could probably turn it back up when it's like that. She's like, those reruns of the Brady Bunch are so important though. I think Marsha Brady was secretly a psychopath for real. Anyway, where was I at? Okay, so humoring the heliocentric model, the Earth goes around the sun once a year. Okay, and so the thing is visible space is only going to be the direction away from the sun, right? Because you can't observe space during the daytime, right? You got to wait till the sun sets to observe space and the stars and the wandering stars at night. Okay, so like if you've got the sun in the middle, and we'll just consider the sun as stationary, right? The sun's in the middle, right? And damn, I'm like hitting buttons while I'm trying to show you all this because YouTube will not let me do this sidewise. If the sun's in the middle and the Earth's over here, then visible space is like way off that way, okay? And then 6 months later, when the Earth goes around the sun, visible space would be the complete opposite direction in space, right? So like you would have unique constellations for the seasons, and especially when you're talking about like the equatorial or like zodiacal constellations. So these are like constellations that are more or less aligned to the ecliptic plane. Um, you're going to have unique constellations for the seasons. God dang, I don't know why my phone keeps, it's like a ghost is pushing buttons on my phone while I'm not doing anything. It's so weird. Um, God damn, this is so hard. I swear to God, it's so hard to hold this phone like this with the there's like a microphone jack coming out the bottom. And so why does it keep something keeps pushing buttons on my damn phone? This is like really annoying. Anyway, okay. Can you turn that down a hair, please? Just at least while that stupid song's going. Okay, thanks. Okay. So what you can term what I'm discussing here, if you want to get technical with what the description is, it would be something like seasonal variance of visible space, right? So like in a heliocentric reality, you would expect something like seasonal variance of visible space. Okay. And so this, you know, the Globers will make arguments that you know, kind of show that they don't understand the problem that we're pointing to here, right? Because in order to understand the problem that we're pointing to here, you have to first fully understand the heliocentric model and what it purports. And then you have to just basically skeptically review that and see if it makes sense, right? And indeed, you know, this was something that Jaron, I don't know if this is something that he, you know, came up with or if it was something that he, you know, found somewhere, but he definitely championed this. And I found it very, very like a death blow for the globe theory, right? Very important. I started calling it the Jaronism effect, right? Now, at about that same time, if you guys remember the Go Fast rocket launch, so there was Go Fast rocket launch. It was like the I forget the name of the group, but it was an independent, like private citizens or whatever that sent up this rocket. I think it went up 70 miles or whatever, right? And during that rocket launch, there was a lot of problems with it. But one of the things that specific flurfers were mentioning was during that, you can see the moon. Like once the rocket is like super high up, you know, 50, 60 miles or whatever it is, you can see the moon. And what the claim was that, and it was like a full moon, I think almost. The claim was that the moon should have been, you know, way on the other side of the globe at the time, right, of the Go Fast rocket launch. And I thought that was very interesting. But also, I got to thinking, like, you know, how would you determine where the moon is even supposed to be located, right? And I'm sort of thinking about this in conjunction with the whole seasonal variance of visible space thing, right? Because indeed, um, these two things go hand in hand, right? And so um, the moon is actually a much better indicator of this problem than the constellations, right? So the constellations are a problem, right? But in order, and this thing that we're going to talk about with the moon, you don't have to be like a amateur astronomer and start learning a bunch of stuff about the stars and the, you know, astronomy and the constellations in order to do this observation or whatever. I don't want to call it a proof, but I definitely would call it an observation or a debunk of the heliocentric model. Okay. All right. So what it is the, and I'm sure most of y'all already know about this, but this is something that I came up with on my own, and I think it's important, and so here it is. Okay. And I don't want accolades or credit or anything, but you know, the thing is, I have gotten a lot of pushback on this because some ancient dead dude never put it in a book, so I must be crazy, right? Anyway, um, okay. So the moon's phases are really a great indicator of where the moon should be physically located, at least according to the heliocentric standard model. Okay. So, like, in other words, based on the moon's phase, you can tell exactly where it should be in relation to the sun and the earth in the standard model. Okay. So regardless of where you are in the season, so regardless of where the Earth is going around the sun, um, space is always away from the center of the track. So like picture the solar system as a fucking racetrack at the high school, right around the football field or whatever. And so the sun's in the middle of the 50-yard line on the football field, and the planets, go around the racetrack, right? So the Earth goes around this racetrack. And the same thing with the moon going around the Earth is like this racetrack analogy, okay? So regardless of where the Earth is on the racetrack around the sun, visible space, is going to be the direction away from the center of the racetrack, and broad daylight is going to be towards the center of the racetrack, right? So when you're on the home team side of the football field, visible space is going to be towards the home bleachers. When you're on the away side of the football field, visible space is going to be towards the away team's bleachers. Okay, and each of the cardinal seasons would be, you'll call summer home, winter away, and then fall and spring would be the periphery or whatever, the 90 degrees adjacent to those two. Okay. But regardless of where the Earth is in its lap, its annual lap around the sun in the middle of the 50-yard line, visible space is away from the center, and the full moon phase is going to be opposite the sun. Okay. So the full moon phase, according to the heliocentric model, demands that the moon be on the opposite side of the Earth as the sun, so far on the outside of the track. Okay. Um, on the other hand, the no moon phase, so of course you can't see the moon when it's no moon. Okay, but we'll say like a 1% or a 3% crescent moon on either side of the no moon. It doesn't matter. It's still the same thing. But the crescent moon condition should be strictly adherent to the inside of the track or the day side of the Earth. Okay, and the basic long and short of this problem with the heliocentric model is, if you've ever seen a full moon during broad daylight, like going way overhead in the middle of the day, that is quite impossible in the heliocentric standard model. And on the opposite end, same thing goes for the crescent moons. If you've ever seen a crescent moon in the middle of the night, then that is geometrically impossible in the standard model. Okay. So what the instant knee-jerk sort of argument against this is from the anti-flat earthers, is, again, it's another instance where they debunk this based on not understanding it. And the whole thing about everybody knows the Earth is a spinning ball no matter what. So there is really no reason to skeptically even think about what we're saying. You can just basically call me stupid and a grifter and a liar, and that kind of pretty much gets it for most people, because the thing that I'm saying here, we all learned in kindergarten, is wrong, right? Everybody knows that the Earth is a spinning ball. And so anyone who's going around making claims like the shit that I'm saying must be crazy. And so it doesn't really take much in the way of, so you've got people that proclaim to be experts, and they will say that they've looked into this and they've debunked it. But again, the way that they debunk this problem that I'm describing with the moon demonstrates their ignorance, or their lack of a capacity to check their premises, right? Okay. So the main argument that they'll come back with is, they'll say, "Oh shit, damn, I totally just cut my phone off. Sorry." They're so the main argument that they have is, they'll say, well, because the moon is not strictly adherent to the ecliptic plane. The moon has an offset orbital, and again, this is all allegedly according to the heliocentric standard model, but the moon has an offset orbital plane of 5 degrees to the ecliptic plane, right? So sometimes the moon is 5 degrees north of the ecliptic plane. On the other extreme, the moon would be 5 degrees south of the ecliptic plane. Okay, and everything in between. Okay, and it does this sort of cycle from Cancer to Capricorn and back. straying a little bit north and south of each, so it does go slightly beyond the parameters of the sun's bounce, right? But it takes the moon a month to do the Capricorn to Cancer and back overhead observation, right? Whereas it takes the sun a year. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe we do have an analemma with the moon as well. I could be wrong. It's sort of irrelevant, but very interesting. And I have heard the case made that the you guys remember the tortoise and the hare nursery rhyme or whatever. I've heard the analogy made that the tortoise and the hare is kind of describing the sun and the moon and their circuits, but for whatever that's worth. Okay. But so their argument, again, it involves, so like if the moon, let's say the moon is north of the ecliptic plane, okay, and you've got summer in the north, okay. So like, let me make sure. Okay, so no, okay, so it's it's summer in the south, okay, and the full moon is north of the ecliptic plane. Okay, so the Earth is like tilted this way, and the moon is north of the ecliptic plane. So you've got certain scenarios where like the alignments would be favorable towards getting an observation of the moon like over the north side of the Earth, right? So that's what they're saying is they're saying you're only seeing the full moon during the daytime. Um, is because of, again, the moon's offset tilt to the ecliptic plane and the Earth's 66.6 degree offset tilt to the ecliptic plane, right? Okay, so that's going to be their argument. That's the main thing that they say. They'll say John doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't understand geometry. But okay, so but here's the thing though, that explanation doesn't get it. It really doesn't. Um, First of all, when we see the moon, where it shouldn't be sometimes, so like the full moon during broad daylight, it is just traveling the ecliptic plane like it always does, right? So it's not like you're looking to the north and like catching a glimpse of the moon over the North Pole somehow, right? And by the way, the alignment that they're discussing might make some sense when you're in or near the Arctic Circle. But when you're getting anywhere near the tropical or even temperate zones, the never the twain shall meet in terms of your line of sight tangent to the curve of the Earth, and the light coming from these objects or whatever, right? So like here's a good example, and I'll probably today I'll do a short demonstration of this point just so it'll be like the next thing that I upload. But like if you take a beach ball, right, and just mark a little dot with like an ink pen or a marker or something on the side of a beach ball, right? And if you start spinning that beach ball, like so you have a friend slowly rotate the beach ball to the point where you can no longer see that little dot that you put because it went around the terminator line, so it is now like um, on the dark side of the beach ball. If you think that that little dot, that you're going to be able to see that little dot on the beach ball, like if you were to tilt it a little bit this way, or maybe stand on your tippy toes, it's absurd. Like the alignments simply aren't there, and that apologetics doesn't match the observations that we see, right? Because the moon is predictable. Like the moon traverses the ecliptic plane exactly on schedule, just like it's supposed to do, and you know exactly where the moon's going to be, right, in the sky. Um, any of the anti-flurfers who claim that the impossible moon observations is because you're seeing it over over the pole or whatever because of axial tilt or because of the moon's misalignment, they haven't actually thought this through or drawn it out. They're just disagreeing with this point because it's easy to disagree with this point because they have the whole of science behind them, and I'm just some stupid fucker with a stupid hat, right? But the fact of the matter remains, you can't really debate simple geometry, right? I mean, it's like the old horse's teeth analogy. You know what I mean? Um, so, like, if you and I are debating how many teeth does a horse have, we can go back and forth all day long until one of us goes and counts the horse's teeth, right? But do you want me to take you to the store? Why? Sorry. How bad? Okay. But so if I go and count the horse's teeth, what is there to debate, right? And if we continue debating our positions, ignoring the fucking count of the horse's teeth, then what's the point, right? Like, what are we even doing here? Um, and so, again, I would just say to anybody who is having a hard time with this, it's pretty simple. Um, but again, I would just start with SVVS, so seasonal variance of visible space. This is an axiom that must be true if the spinning ball Earth standard model is true, right? So you would have a situation where visible space would be total opposite ends of the universe from season to season, especially opposing seasons. Okay, and you would have unique constellations for each season. Okay, and then over time, there would be slow phases in that. We'd have new constellations being drawn up over, over the course of thousands of years for sure, right? Because allegedly we're traveling through space with the sun around the galaxy in a like 250 million year cycle, according to Lions. Of course, nobody's ever observed even a fraction of a percent of that cycle, but we know it's a repeating cycle because science. Thomas F. Graun, heliocentric theory requires that sun obscure half of the constellations and zodiac signs. But at sunset, we have six zodiac signs and half of the constellations. At sunrise, we see the other half. Yes. Yep. And I would just say, like, you're absolutely right. But it's not so much that the sun obscures the constellations. It's that I mean it does, but like it's because when the sun is up after twilight, the atmosphere plane, the sky becomes blue and you can no longer see the stars, right? And so it's not that the sun is necessarily blocking out line of sight to those constellations. It's that you just can't see the stars during the day, right? So yeah, it is. What's up, Bugsy Malone? Gully's ghost from the past. Nobody will believe you. We're all from the past, my man. Gully's ghost. Bling bling, dude. Um, but again, I would just say, like, if you don't understand this, or if you're running into people that are flippantly hand waving this, you're never going to be able to force someone to use the meat between their ears where their brain's supposed to be. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him talk like Mr. Ed or whatever, however that goes. Unless you've got some extra carrots laying around. I think that's the way that saying goes, isn't it? No. But you know, this point alone, and I remember when I was a kid, my dad would tell me that the Native Americans believed in what I don't know. The Native Americans believed that it was good omen or good luck or whatever to observe a full moon during broad daylight. So that's something that I've ever been on the lookout for because I always need good luck, right? I mean, I've never found a four-leaf clover, but I've damn sure seen the full moon plenty of times during broad daylight. Okay. And it's just a geometric impossibility in the ball earth theory, right? It is a globe killer. But the problem is, in order to understand this proof, you have to use your brain. So I guess it's pretty much a lost cause for the majority of the world. I mean, not you guys, y'all are the best. And I love you guys very much for that. Um, so thank you for not being absolute fools like the rest of the world seems to be. Um, Sunny Shine says, "You were born in the past, living in the present, and my brain is stuck in the 80s." Me too, dude. Yo, can we just go back to 1980, you guys, or like 1982, back when I could throw a football over that mountain? Sorry. Why does my phone keep on putting up these damn notifications in front of me? Like someone keeps hitting a button on my damn phone and it's not me, dude. Um, but yeah, it's a absolute globe killer. I mean, no, it doesn't prove flat Earth, but again, the thing with the globe is the globe model has been more than reified by all of science and all of education and all of NASA and all the rest. It has been reified to the point, as I said before a couple days ago, the globe Earth has been deified by the mathematics. to the point where we have people, and I'm not going to say any names, like Reg Schmederich, right, saying that math is reality. Okay, because see, the thing is, if you can reify a concept with math, newsflash, it doesn't prove that it's true, right? So like I can add up a bunch of numbers on a piece of paper and put a dollar sign next to it, but does that prove that I have that amount of money? No, it's just some shit on a piece of paper with numbers, with a dollar sign on it. It doesn't prove anything. It's just math, right? And so too, people have been people conflate mathematic extrapolation with physical, tangible proof. Okay, the other day, I got a comment from a Glober that was basically making fun of me for using the 8 inches per mile squared projection, for the expected amount of curvature over a given distance. Basically, laughing at me, calling me stupid because that 8 inches per mile squared describes a parabola and not a inverse square curve, right? And so basically the whole thing needs to be thrown out because we're all so stupid. How could we ever use? And so like my response to that was, he's right. It does describe a parabola or whatever. And so the equation does break down after a couple thousand miles. Okay. So the 8 inches per mile squared, you can check it in AutoCAD just to see how close it is to reality. And after even hundreds of miles, so it's like it's 7.998 inches per mile squared. And so we just rounded up to 8. And so those little 0.002 of a percentage point or whatever, that starts to stack up at a certain point. But then you also just have, again, you're using you're using squares for curves, right? So it's not going to work indefinitely. But the thing is, though, like, when are you ever going to need a curvature calculator to check the expected curvature over 3,000 miles, right? It's like, who's ever going to even attempt a 1,000-mile distance shot, right? Um, so like the longest shot that I've seen to date was from my friend who sent me, and I've put it in a video, at least a couple videos. That he captured Pikes Peak when taken off in a plane in Arizona. I think it was in Tucson or Phoenix or something. Yeah, Pikes Peak from like 500 miles away. Okay. And the 8 inches per mile squared thing works accurately enough, even up to 500 miles. But you're never going to have observations much further than that. Like, it's got to be the right conditions and you got to have a great camera. Beyond that, like, you're not even going to need something because you can't see that far, right? Even with the best telescope in the world. And so what I told the guy was, okay, so if you don't like the 8 inches per mile squared equation, don't use it. If you've got a better one, use that one. But damn it, you still got to go measure the Earth for curvature. You can't just call me a moron and find some, semantic reason, or even if it's a legitimate reason, even if I am the craziest moron to ever crazy moron, it doesn't matter. You still got to go measure the Earth for curvature, and you got to use some kind of an equation. If you want to have one that perfectly works for all curves out to 5,000 miles, be my guest, like, more power to you. But I will tell you that the 8 inches per mile squared one works perfectly fine. To calculate the expected curvature over a given distance if the Earth was a sphere. Okay, it definitely works. It's not debated. Like, globetards have checked it. We've checked it. People check it in AutoCAD probably on a daily basis just to see if we're blowing smoke up their ass, right? It's good enough, I promise. And like there was this guy did a video where he was basically going through exactly what Robotham did word for word in order to come up with that equation. So like at the very beginning of Zetetic Astronomy, Robotham stated that he had basically contacted one of his buddies that was a brilliant mathematician, and his brilliant mathematician, who was like a teacher or like one of those astronomer royale with cheese or whatever, and dude helped him come up with that. And it is a brilliant application of all sorts of mathematical principles, and it works, right? It definitely works to destroy the globe, and so that's why the globetards really, really hate it. Um, Thomas F.E. Graun says, if people had been taught how to think instead of being taught what to think, then people would be able to contemplate and put themselves in what they should see and experience if it's a tilted ball. Yeah, I mean, agreed, man. They definitely got us young with this one, and that's how I guess that's how you do it, right? Because if you were going to try to convince a bunch of skeptical, rational adults of this nonsense, it would never fly, dude. Never. But when you're teaching this to kids who just found out that Santa wasn't real, dude, you got them by the balls for the rest of their life. Like, honestly, it is brilliant. But, brilliant in a sort of insidious way. Like, you sort of have to respect that sort of dick move, right? The level of dick move is fucking unprecedented, right? Legendary. So you have to sort of respect that, but at the same time, it is very much a sort of anti-human, demonic thing, isn't it? To deceive all generations of toddlers about the fucking ground that they're walking on, so that you could sell them on things like evolution and sell them on things like Yeshua ben Yosef never existed, and the goat herders of the ancient Fertile Crescent didn't even know the Earth was a spinning ball, and you're going to trust them about matters of spirit? Wow, how foolish are we, right? Sunny Shine says, but the magic term of refraction is what I always cop when showing long distance photos. The magical refraction. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is, refraction, the globetards have yet again reified mathematics to show that refraction uh, makes the sphere Earth deviously present itself to us as a plane in so many cases. You have this thing called standard refraction, which presupposes the radius value of the Earth in order to mathematically negate the radius value of the Earth. So it's like, again, it's brilliant apologetics that amounts to nothing, right? So like refraction is definitely a variable that will affect light to high degrees, but to call it standard is disingenuous. And also the entire mechanism of it, they have it backwards. The globetards do. So the globetards claim that the Earth is a sphere, and distant objects that are way along that curve, totally obscured by the horizon line, sort of spring up, sometimes miles, spring up in altitude without inverting like Fata Morganas do. And just, there they are. You can see them above the horizon, and the curved water in front of it presents itself as a plane as well, thanks to refraction. So it is very magic the way that it works. But the thing is when light is traveling parallel to the ground, it's going to refract downward towards the ground, okay? Because light traveling through media will refract towards the higher density gradient, right? And also temperature plays a role in it too. So it could sort of go either way. But to call it standard refraction that always negates an assumed R value, radius, is just, that is the pinnacle of globe-tarded cognitive dissonance. It is a fascinating anthropological sort of study. Anybody that's interested in that sort of thing, it's amazing to me, just how misled and deceived some of the brightest people you've ever met, and like myself included. I was a damn globe-tard for the majority of my life, but again, that's why they get us young, is because they got us in a time prior to our capacity or wherewithal to to logically, skeptically reject this nonsense for what it is. Oh, really? So we live stuck to the side of a spinning ball and we don't all live on the top? No, we live stuck to the side. So how do we live stuck to the side? Like, what's keeping us there? Because usually when you spin things at 1,000 miles an hour, they're not going to hold fast without something fastening them to that spinning gyroscope or whatever, right? Oh, the theory of gravity keeps us stuck to the side of the spinning ball? Really? Okay. So can you measure this gravity? Like, oh, it's invisible. So gravity's invisible and you can't measure it. Okay, magnetism, electromagnetism is invisible and you can't measure that, but we know that that's true. right? I mean, you can throw steel files on a magnet, on a magnet with a piece of paper on top of it and see the magnetic field. Why can't we demonstrate gravity fields? Oh, they did. Cavendish did hundreds of years ago. The astronomer royal with cheese, Cavendish, did the experiment that was not an experiment. And I would submit that Cavendish probably didn't even exist. He was like a fictitious person that was almost certainly made up by his um, like peers at the time in order to have, it's a whole, Cavendish is a whole nother topic, but I've done some videos on Cavendish. I'll try to find the one that kind of blows his, look for, fuck it. I'll put a link up. I'll find it. There's so much content over the years, you guys. It's just amazing. Like just how much has gone into this deception. But yeah, there is no sort of experimental or practical evidence for this gravity that keeps us, stuck to the side of this sphere, spinning sphere. But so where's the disparity, right? So gravity keeps us pinned to the side of the Earth, spinning along a curve at 1,037.5 miles an hour at the equator, right? Dang, I got cotton mouth. Hold on. That went down my lungs. Okay. But when you're standing at the North Pole, you're spinning half the speed as the hour hand on a clock, not spinning, right? And by the way, when you're at the North Pole or the South Pole on the globe spinning, you're parallel with the axis, right? Standing on top of the axis, parallel with the axis, not spinning. Half the speed is the hour hand on a clock, okay? Stationary. But when you're at the equator, you are spinning 1,000 miles an hour plus, vertically descending along that curve compared to a tangent line from the base point at about 135 miles an hour. Okay. So there is a disparity in terms of the alleged centrifugal force generated by the ball, depending on where you're standing. So like at the pole, there would be no centrifugal force generated by, the same amount of centrifugal force that is generated by an hour hand on a clock. Do you want me to take you? Okay, okay, I've got water to flush the toilet. The water froze, and so we can't use the bathroom, but I'll get it flushed for you. Trying to think where I was at. I just totally lost my train of thought. I know what I was talking about, but I don't know where I was at. Can y'all remind me where I was at? Okay, UK Surfer, one love, man. You just catch us on the flip, brother. Yeah, dude, obviously, Adam S. You can feel the earth spinning if you're on shrooms, of course. UK Surfer says in the UK it's 0 degrees with the wind chill. It's a lot colder. Now, are you talking Fahrenheit or Celsius or centigrade? Because 0 degrees is just freezing in your language or whatever. I don't know. Where I'm at, the last time I checked, it was like 25. It is super cold out there. So yeah, I'm sure the pipes froze here. Circle Lee says, "Hey Morgal, can you stop for a second and I can please get your opinion on the 24-hour sun that was proven within our community?" Loose Sapphire says, "No proven causation for gravity, which is required to even make the extraordinary claim." Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So, but there's no disparity between these two locations. Again, the pole and the equator, and gravity, is sufficient to, counteract the centrifugal force generated by traveling along a gyroscopic edge at 1,000 miles an hour. Okay. Gravity's going to have to be some kind of strong to keep you pinned, and not to mention every drop of water pinned to the equator to boot. Okay. But then you've also got at the North Pole that whole hour hand on a clock thing, and gravity's doing what? Is gravity absent? Does it depend on how gravity's feeling that day where it applies itself? Because, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, the spin of the Earth causes the sphere Earth to bulge a little bit at the equator. It's a little chubbier at the equator, right? Because of the spin. That's what they say. That's spinning so fast that it causes a bulge in the Earth at the equator. Okay, so it's spinning so fast to bulge the Earth, but it's not spinning fast enough so you even don't even notice that it's spinning, right? I mean, it's just so absurd. Southern California knows no frozen pipes. We very well might be underwater right now, says Adam. Okay, good morning, co-op. To the one that had mentioned the 24-hour sun thing, I don't mind talking with you about it. It's kind of hard to keep up with the conversation on text. So just, I mean, on chat. So just send me a text message, and I don't mind. Send me a text, and we can do a phone call or something. 864-315-7892. If you just call me, I won't know your number, and I probably won't answer it because I get nothing but telemarketing calls all day long. I wonder why. But no, send me a text, and then we'll link up. I don't mind talking. JC Overload says, Morgal, did you watch Jaren or Witsit Lives? I did a reaction to both of them from Antarctica. So if you go into my recent history, recent live streams, there's one that's like 5 hours. I've done a bunch of those talking about the whole final experiment thing, but I did one watching one of each of their videos and a bunch of other stuff too. Okay, co-op. 24-hour sun is nonsense. Yeah, I mean, even if it's true, it doesn't prove anything. Honestly, I think it's been a net positive, and we haven't even seen the full fruition of this. Because one thing that I know that Jaren does know is that we've got to keep getting this put in front of the mainstream. And it almost seems like this whole thing was a bit of a Trojan horse for the truth, right? Now, I don't know if that was intentional of Jaren, but if it was, that was brilliant, and he's my fucking hero, okay? But on the other hand, I just don't think he would ever be able to admit it. And also, it's all Witsit gets its faults that they're even caught. So if the Jesuits are going to kill anybody, it's going to be not Jaranism, right? Okay. So I don't know, man. The whole thing kind of breaks my heart, and I'm always trying to find the silver lining in things. And there definitely is a silver lining. I mean, we got the Streisand effect for flat Earth, so that is a huge net positive. It was a flop. The final experiment was definitely a flop in there, for the Globetards. Okay, now, how much of this was intentional? Is Will Duffy a crypto flurfer, and this was like some kind of way that they figured out to get it, slip a Trojan horse into the mass media? I don't know, man. That would be pretty brilliant if that's the case. And if that is true, then, heartfelt apologies and love sending out to those guys, man. Although, again, if you know the nature of this game, hypothetically, for entertainment purposes only, allegedly, but if you understand this game, there's only so much autonomy these people have, and so, I like to think that maybe Jaren's my fucking hero, dude. Honestly, why does it matter what people believe about the shape of the Earth, Lord? Well, it does. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. So, if the Earth is flat or a sphere, it's not going to change. You're going to wake up tomorrow and everything's going to be exactly the same, right? But on the other hand, for one thing, there is some motive to deceive all generations of toddlers for hundreds of years. Okay. So for that alone, if you're cool with the institutions and educational institutions deceiving all generations of toddlers to infinity into the future, then in my opinion, that's ridiculous. Okay. I was going to say something rude, but I'm not trying to be rude to you. I'm trying to make a point. On the other hand, also, they have convinced us that the Earth is a speck of dust in the grand scheme of things, orbiting the sun, which is a speck of dust in the grand scheme of things, orbiting the galaxy, which is a speck of dust in the grand scheme of things, right? And so, the galaxy that is so much, grander and more superior than anything we could comprehend, if that is insignificant, right, in the grand scheme of things, then what does that make you and me? What does that make human history? What does that make life in general? It makes us sort of a freak chemical accident created by chaos and happenstance, right? Gravity is our god. Chance is the only reason that we're here having this conversation. And, if the entire Earth were to be destroyed this very instant, in the grand scheme of things, it wouldn't make a shit bit of difference. It really wouldn't, right? Because there's billions of Earth-like planets out there in the infinitude of the cosmos, right? So like we can basically trash this planet because it's a sure thing that we're going to find another planet to move to, just like our ancient ancestors did. The aliens, the ancient aliens, our ancestors, remember? Okay. So, and you know, by the way, this whole thing is very similar to the Mormonism thing, and like there's a lot of weird, bizarro religions like Scientology set up around this concept of infinite space, right? So again, while if it's flat or round, physically does not make a shit bit of difference, it is the package that comes along with it, right? It's the entire paradigm. The infinite space paradigm goes right out the damn window with flat Earth. Like once you realize that it's not a spinning globe and it never has been, then this whole illusion of scarcity, this whole illusion of infinite space and potential planet destinations and like all that shit goes out the window. And in fact, what it means to me is that there is something extremely and inherently special and unique and magnificent about this world and about this place, and not just human life but life in general. Like I remember when I was in jail the last time in Lawrence County, South Carolina. Um, I was looking out the window. I couldn't sleep because I was kicking methadone, and it was like I couldn't sleep for like 2 weeks straight. It was awful in jail. But I would lay there at night because I in Spartanburg Annex. You're in a dorm. They call it a dorm, but there's like triple bunks with like 150 dudes in the one dorm. And then there was three toilets and one shower for 150 dudes, and two of the toilets didn't work. So there was one toilet and one shower for like 100 dudes, right? But there was a window. You couldn't go out, but you could look out the window, and there was a spider out there. And this spider, I mean, I've noticed this before, but I'd never actually sit there and watched the spider spin its web for hours and days, right? And like I watched this spider start this web from nothing and turn it into this beautiful, it was like its home and its buffet and everything. And what a fascinating thing. So like, life in general, there was a time like in my past when I would see something like that and think, like how pointless, like, what is the point of all this? And like I would even see, the rise and fall of ancient empires is sort of like the rise and fall of anthills, right? Because in this materialistic heliocentric mindset, it really does diminish the value of life in general, and it's like self-respect and self-esteem, and the way that we respect other people. I think it really does sort of subconsciously have a profound effect on how we operate, right, as a society. Okay. But when you realize, that that is all bullshit, and in fact, like there is something unique and special about this place, and life in general is sacred. Not just human life, but every life, even little Boogaloo here, is special, sacred, and unique, and should be cherished. And I just think that with the advent and the realization of flat Earth, it brings a lot of people much closer to God, right? The understanding that we are divinely created beings, created in the image of the Most High, creator of all things, visible and invisible, right? And so, what I mean by that is not necessarily like arms and legs and toes and nose, but like in spirit. So, like, I think that our spirit is of the same ilk of the creator. And although I do believe that we have the whole thing of wheats and tares and, goats and lambs, what a beautiful time to be alive, right? So I hopefully that answers your question. And you can see the Earth's curvature in a plane, says Bryce. Really? Okay. Well, you can't see it in a high altitude weather balloon, which is like 5 times higher than that plane. So what you're seeing, and I've been in a plane, I know what you're saying. Like I thought the same thing too when I was younger. Um, and you can kind of see the same thing if you're out at sea on a ship and you get to the top of the masthead. You see kind of curvature at sea too. It's weird, but what I've have surmised that is the horizon. So if you're out at sea, or even if you're out on the Great Plains or like salt plains, and there's unobstructed view 360 degrees around you to the horizon, um, the horizon is an equidistant circle around you. Okay. And the horizon rises with you, the observer. As you gain altitude, the horizon continues to rise with you, which is not really the kind of thing that should happen on a ball. Okay. But the horizon is an equidistant circle in all directions around you. Dang, I think my ghost just did something. Hold on. We got a ghost here, y'all, for real. Okay. Um, so the horizon is an equidistant circle around you, and circles all have curvature, right? So there is that. Um, but, again, this isn't necessarily an argument about how things look or what you can see. I mean, sure, we do want to trust our senses, but at the end of the day, this Earth thing is way bigger than ourselves, right? And so we can't really necessarily take in enough of it at once, at least at face value, to determine whether the curvature is there or not, right? Now, if you think you're getting up in an airplane and you can see curvature, I would just beg you to check out some high altitude weather balloon footage, because um, what they've done historically. So if you look at like the Red Bull jump, the dude Felix Baumgartner did the jump from space, where he took a balloon capsule up like 20 miles or something and jumped. But they used fisheye lenses to create the illusion of Earth curvature there, right? But if you take a regular non-fisheye lens camera and do the same thing, the horizon is flat and level, and raises with the observer all the way up to like 20 miles. It continues that planar surface behavior. Okay. Because if the Earth was a ball, if you're gaining an altitude, you're going to have to keep looking downwards to get to the horizon, not at eye level. Earth's a plane, dude, and it doesn't move either. They say that you're spinning 1,000 miles an hour, orbiting the sun at 66,600 miles an hour, orbiting the galactic center at 485,000 miles an hour, flying through space with the galaxy at over 1,000,000 miles an hour. And all of these trajectories are curvilinear paths of travel, allegedly, not straight line paths. And these curvilinear trajectories are all in conflict with one another and constantly changing relative phase to one another. So you would necessarily, in a heliocentric standard sort of scenario, if we're humoring it for argument's sake, there would be so much acceleration built into that, it would be measurable at least. It would be detectable. And the fact of the matter is, even the globetards agree that the Earth is a fixed frame of reference. It behaves exactly as if it's stationary. Okay, it's not argued. Now they say that it only behaves exactly as if it's stationary, but that's an illusion. It's actually spinning and traveling all these curvilinear trajectories, but it's because basically we only notice or measure acceleration, not straight line path travel. Okay, so get it together. You can only measure acceleration. Okay, not if you're going straight down the highway in a car, not hitting any bumps, you feel like you're standing still, right? Duh. Okay. But the thing is, if you're in that same car going around a curved track, as the car barrel rolls, do you think you're going to feel that, dude? Okay. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little worked up, but yeah, dude, I'm not getting mad at you. I would just definitely say you're on the right track. Don't give up. Um, don't try to debunk flat Earth so much at first. The best way you can spend your time on this at first is to try to debunk your existing belief in the spinning ball Earth, just for shits and giggles, and see where it leads, right? Because I can promise you, if you apply a modicum of healthy, long overdue skeptical criticism towards your unshakable belief in the spinning ball Earth, you will find very quickly that it is a house of cards. The emperor has no clothes, people. The ball Earth is dead. I promise you, man. It's just a matter of are you willing and able to be honest with yourself and just revisit the shits you were taught as a kid. Don't listen to anybody. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to the anti-flat earthers. Don't listen to anybody. Prove all things to yourself. Be not deceived. 24-hour Arctic sun. Yeah. So I've got a bunch of reposts from like 2017 where I was talking even then about how the AE projection is not a model. The 24-hour sun in the south would prove nothing if it's true. Okay, so anybody who conflates 24-hour sun in the south with proof of a spinning ball, first of all, is ridiculous. Anyone who says that I need to recant anything that I've said about this is blowing shit out their ass. It's retarded. That's not true. Okay, and finally, I would just say go measure the Earth for curvature. Did y'all know that the word geometry literally etymologically means measure the Earth? So, dude, bro, go geometry. And while you're at it, go physics. Okay, physics is the study, in one sense, the study of bodies in motion. Okay, go study bodies in motion. And if you can demonstrate a spinning, rotating sphere that behaves as a fixed frame of reference for the little ants crawling around on it, I'd love to see it. Okay. Okay, Thomas F.E. Groen says maybe some in-depth real learning about the laws of perspective so they can grasp why those 20,000-foot mountains are so small. Yeah, compared to the stuff in the foreground. Exactly. Yeah, it is. Perspective, again, it happens in the eye of the beholder. Okay. So the physical realm doesn't obey the laws of perspective, but all observers observe the world through the lens of perspective, and we have to account for that, right? We have to account for our biases, and we have to be able to look at things from a sort of third person vantage point, right? And that is exactly what makes theoretical astrophysics not only an oxymoron, a contradiction in terms, but it also makes theoretical physics, theoretical astrophysics, pseudoscience, right? Because it is inherently non-demonstrable, non-falsifiable, non-observable, and yet they parade it around the world and teach it to our children as settled science, right? But you're never going to go observe the stars or the sun from a sort of third person perspective and pick it up and take a sample of it. Never going to happen in a million years. So it is merely pseudoscience. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna wrap this one up. More to come, you guys. I do appreciate y'all. Hope y'all are enjoying Bente Cuatro, and I will keep y'all posted as new developments arise in the flat Earth debate. Oh, I wanted to tell you guys, I'm gonna be doing a live stream on ZNN, Zetetic News Network, this coming Thursday. I think it's going to be in the evening, like 9 p.m. Eastern, but I will be sharing some links with you guys on that. So Bolo, and go ahead and give Zach and Dave a subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to the ZNN YouTube channel, Zetetic News Network. I'm going to be on there Thursday. Also, I'm trying to coordinate something with those guys over there with Nathan Oakley and them on the Flat Earth debate. I know that we are in talks of doing some kind of a collab. I just don't know exactly what we're going to do. So we got some collabs coming up, you guys. So Bolo on that for show. And yeah, Flat Earth Sovereign says, I walked around my block. I guess it's a ball. Yeah. Loose Sapphire. Nathan's a gatekeeper. You think so, man? I don't think so. I don't know, man. I've known Nathan a long time. I just think, I think that we as flurfers, sometimes we have just been, shoved around so much. We just come out swinging, dude. Like, I think that's, Odd Soldberg says, you're full of BS. Who's full of BS? Are you talking to me, dude? Nathan is not a gatekeeper. Blue Sapphire is not a flat earther. Oh, okay. You've met them all. You've been deep. You've met who? You met Nathan? Okay, so I'm full of crap because I realize that the Earth doesn't have curvature and it's also demonstrably at rest. I would say you're full of crap because you believe you live stuck to the side of a spinning sphere in the vacuum of outer space. Loose Sapphire says you've known the Earth is flat since 1980. Okay, sure. All right, we're gonna wrap this one up, you guys. Yeah, I'd love to sit here and debate you, Odd Solberg, but I would just say go watch the last 10 years worth of my videos. And then if you still feel like debating me after you've seen the evidence, sure, we'll debate. Um, just check out a few of my videos first. Really, I don't expect you to watch 10 years worth of videos, but I can assure you that you've been deceived about the shape of the Earth. Okay, it's not a spinning ball. It is measurably and obviously a stationary plane. I know that's a lot to swallow coming from, our culture that has indoctrinated us into this belief in spinning ballers since we were little kids. And it is hard to revisit your lifelong held core beliefs. Okay. All I'm asking you to do is revisit your core beliefs. And if you find any contradictions in your heliocentric model, so like, for example, the thermodynamics violation of pressurized gas here on the ground and the vacuum of space above the Kármán line, that's a problem. If you find problems like that, or the consistency and constancy of constellations throughout history, flying in the face of the Copernican principle and all the rest, if you can find one single problem with your belief in the heliocentric model, I would just highly urge and really implore you, beg you, to just go and try to debunk the ball Earth. Don't try to debunk flat Earth just yet because you don't know diddly squat about flat Earth. And all you know is misinformation about what we're trying to say. So you first need to listen to us a little bit, or don't even listen to me. Just damn it, just go measure the fucking Earth for curvature, okay? Go practice geometry, dude. Go practice physics. Go study bodies in motion, and then come back and tell me if you really believe you live stuck to the side of a spinning sphere, okay? But you're not just going to stumble in here off of some turnip truck, still reeling from cognitive dissonance, and call me a liar, dude, or whatever you called me. I don't care. It doesn't hurt my feelings, but if and when you actually go and spend a little time on revisiting your belief system and maybe learning a little bit about what I'm saying before calling me names, then we'll talk. Okay, I'm not opposed to having a conversation, but you will owe me an apology. Okay. 13 families. Yeah, I started doing the 13 Bloodlines audiobook, but nobody was watching it, and that was not the Fritz Springmeier book I thought it was. I read a Fritz Springmeier book years ago, and it was amazing. I loved it. Couldn't put it down. I just don't remember which one it was. I thought it was the 13 Bloodlines of the Illuminati, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't it. But if y'all want me to continue with that audiobook, I can pick it up at any time. There was one of his works, man, that was just really, really great. And I'd much rather do that. But if y'all want, I will do the 13 Bloodlines continued. Oh, hell. Okay. How many times stronger is the electrostatic force than gravity? Well, gravity doesn't exist. So infinitely. So like the Earth is a capacitor plate. It is a free energy generating device. Nikola Tesla mentioned something along the lines that the Ionis plane is the other plate. So it's the dielectric plane, right? Positive, negative. Okay. But hold on. How many times stronger is electrostatic than gravity? Yeah, again, so gravity is a theory that's only necessary if the Earth is a spinning ball in space, hypothetically. Okay. So if you're spinning around 1,000 miles an hour on the Earth, you're going to need something like gravity. And so therefore, according to the pseudoscience of science, it must exist because everyone knows the Earth's a spinning ball. And when they start finding measurable problems with gravity, they just start inventing new bullshit like dark matter and dark energy. And they start inventing new money pits for lions, like the, would you mind turning that down a little bit?
How long you gonna be, bro?
I'm almost done. I'm wrapping it up now.
Do it.
I know those reruns of the Brady Bunch are super important, but
There's other shit I wanna do.
you're going to miss me when I'm gone, boy. I'll tell you that. All right, y'all. One love. Let me wrap this up.
Dare you say that online?
Y'all be good. And
Dude.
yeah, for y'all crazy globetards out there, just watch some of my videos, dude. Like, you can come here and insult me, but that doesn't score any points for you in this debate. You've got to go prove curvature and axial rotation just for starters. And I've got a news flash for you. The evidence is in. There is nothing to debate. The Earth is definitely a stationary plane. Again, like what y'all are doing is like debating the number of teeth that a horse has, but you've never went and counted the damn teeth. So go count the fucking horse's teeth. Bye.